Hey everyone, I'm doing a persuasive speech on why assisted suicide should be illegal. This is my audience. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a video from somebody who has already had an assisted suicide. Here's her story.
My name is Brittany Menard. I am 29 years old and I am terminally ill. On New Year's Day 2014, to my great shock, I learned I had brain cancer. Despite the efforts of advanced medicine, my cancer is aggressive and currently without any cure. On New Year's Day, I was told I may have a few years to live with a grade 2 astrocytoma. This was a great shock to my family and I. Then post-op from a January craniotomy, my April MRI showed significant enhancement, indicative of a higher grade change. I was told I most likely had 6 months or so to live. My imaging was very indicative of a grade 4 glioblastoma based on MRI interpretations. A GBM4 is the most dangerous form of brain cancer, and my world fell apart. I moved to Oregon shortly after with my family from California because it is one of only 5 states that do authorize the patient a right to a choice with death with dignity. I am heartbroken that I had to leave behind my home, my community, and my friends in California. But I am dying, and I refuse to lose my dignity. I refuse to subject myself and my family to purposeless, prolonged pain and suffering at the hands of an incurable disease. Death with dignity laws authorize the medical practice of aid in dying. They give mentally competent, terminally ill adults the option to request life-ending medication that they can choose to ingest if their dying process becomes unbearable. The freedom of this patient right is choice. Besides Oregon, only 4 other states authorize the medical practice of aid in dying: Washington, Montana, Vermont, and New Mexico. Making aid in dying a crime creates undue hardships and suffering for many people who are terminally ill and suffering tremendously. It limits our options and deprives us of our ability to control how much pain and agony we endure before we pass. People have asked me whether I have explored the medical practice of palliative or terminal sedation. Some claim it is an equally gentle alternative for patients whose symptoms cannot be controlled. The procedure involves drugging the patient into a coma. Nutrition and fluids are then withheld until the person dies from disease or dehydration. No one can tell when that would happen, but each patient is different and deserves the autonomy and freedom to make this most personal choice for themselves. I can't imagine what that experience would be like. I may be minimally conscious, still suffering, and unable to move or speak. That terrifies me. Death with dignity is a much swifter and peaceful way to pass. Logic motivates me to choose this for myself instead. I refuse that procedure because I want to live fully until I die. The rest of my body is young, fit, and retaining fluid, so I would likely hang on for days or even weeks before I died. I don't want that. Also, palliative sedation usually requires hospitalization. I want to be sure my husband and mother are with me when I die. I want to leave this earth in my home, in the arms of my husband and my parents. I cannot change the fact that I am dying, but I am living my final days to the fullest, spending time with family, friends, and in the great outdoors. And I am preparing to experience the best possible death. Achieving some control over my passing is very important to me. Knowing that I can leave this life with dignity allows me to focus on living. It has provided me enormous peace of mind. The inevitability of death is universal. The widespread support and overwhelmingly positive response to my story represents our community is ready to have a new conversation about death. The decision about how I end my dying process should be up to me and my family under a doctor's care. How dare the government make decisions or limit options for terminally ill people like me? Unfortunately, California law prevented me from getting the end-of-life option I deserved. No one should have to leave their home and community for peace of mind, to escape suffering, and to plan for a gentle death. For the vast majority of people, that is not even a remote possibility because of the cost of moving, the inconvenience to family, and the time it takes to change residency status, find new doctors, confirm eligibility, and obtain medication. This must change. Every one of us will die. We should not have to suffer excruciating pain, shame, or a prolonged dying process. The laws in California and 45 other states must change to prevent prolonged, involuntary suffering for all terminally ill Americans. As elected officials, you have the power to make this happen. Please take action. Every terminally ill American deserves the choice to die with dignity. Let the movement begin here, now. Access to this choice lies in your hands. Freedom from prolonged pain and suffering is a most basic human right. Please make death with dignity an American healthcare choice. Thank you.
Brittany died 18 days shy of her 30th birthday in November 1st, 2014. Now we have 11 states that are currently doing physician-assisted suicide. To qualify for it, you have to go to either your state legislation or a court order to be having it with a terminally ill patient. Death is a part of everyday life. No one knows when we're going to die. But being told that you have a certain amount of time to live and that knowing that you're going to end up in pain and suffering, I think everybody should have the choice on when you can end. I've seen it with my medical career and with my own mother having cancer. The devastations that it causes seeing somebody suffer. So I think everybody should have the choice on if they want to do it. We have the choices to be healthy, to exercise, when we can have a baby, when we can end a pregnancy. We should also choose how we die. We will explore what physician-assisted suicide is, who it applies to, and why this option should be available. Now I'm going to tell you why PAD gets such bad. Most of it is public misinformation and negativity around it. Some people think that anybody can do it if it becomes legal, which that's not the case because you have to have a serious medical and be determined by your physician that you are going to die, and it can't be created out of fear, anger, or resistance. One of the biggest concerns is that anybody can get it, even people that's not terminally ill. With getting it, you have to do it in front of your physician. You have to be making an informed decision, and you have to be conscious of your sound in mind. There is a strict process screening to be where you get approved for it. Another reason, in my opinion, that there's such negative is some people think of it as you're helping somebody commit suicide, or you're even murdering somebody. And normally when you hear of suicide, you think of somebody that's depressed, miserable, and wants to take their own life. Well, this is not the case with this. It's somebody that's terminally ill, and they want to be able to go out with their dignity instead of having pain and suffering. Then there's also the spiritual aspect of it. Most Christians believe that if you commit suicide, that is a sin against God, so they don't want to do it for that. That's two of the reasons why it's very situation. Then you have the media too. The media doesn't really like to represent controversial issues such as this. They can't stand any fight in it, and they don't get nothing off of it. When I found out I was searching it, there was a couple of things that came out. I used CNN as a reference, and there was just as much to having a physician-assisted suicide as there was against it. Well, I believe the media is the cause of communication and misinformation. The effect of it is that people could be more beneficial if they had that choice to have as an option. It's kind of like hospice, because when you're on hospice, you have that option to where when you get to a certain point, you can take medicines that end your life. But like with this situation, if you're terminally ill and suffering and everything, you can understand where you would want to get a physician-assisted suicide. That way you could die on your own account, where you don't have the pain and the suffering. The misinformation of it is where the big problem is. Like I said before, people think that anybody can do it if it gets legalized, but that's not the case. Working in the medical field, we're supposed to advocate for our patients and do what they need and want. The arguments for and against it is very controversial, but I think that death is a natural end to life. It can be a sensitive topic, and that if somebody wants to have a physician-assisted suicide, they should have the ability to. That they should be able to die in dignity and not have to wait until the pain is intolerable, and to have that as what people remember them of. This treatment option is available for more terminal patients in some more states. The cause and the effect of these barriers is what healthcare providers can do to be both compassionate and understanding for the patient's decision. Individuals can research the topic, and even though their state does not allow PAD, they can familiarize themselves with the laws surrounding resources for patients. Looking back, I can't honestly tell you that if my mom had wanted it when she was battling cancer, but I can say she wished she had the choice. Basically what it is you having the right to choose if you have something that's terminally ill, if you can get the physicians to give you prescription medicine to where you just go to sleep and not wake up. To me, that sounds like a more way to go instead of living the last of your months in pain and suffering. Thanks.